When I was growing up, our homes, either one of them, because we had numerous places that we lived when I was a child, but they were always the gathering place for my family.
So my earliest memory was living in the project.
My first memory is in the Callio project, looking out the window at my oldest sister, Lanisha, walk to school.
And like how the three older siblings shared that big room.
There was never any fear. Like, I'd go outside, we'd pop people's gates and pick the plums or whatever. Like, we'd have fun. The main like world changer was when mom moved to Florida.
So you go from like 5 siblings to just like you're all by yourself, like you're our only child almost.
Most of my immediate family moved to another state. Resources there is gone. So you're on your own, raising a child. You know, what do you do?
It just means a lot when people are able to, no matter what's going on in your life, throw their arms around you and show love.
Hello, TEDxTulane. Throughout time, Black communities have been discriminated against and displaced as a result of lack of wealth, power, and influence. This country's history of housing policies and interventions have kept people who look like me in impoverished environments. Those of us who have the means to relocate do so without considering our community's collective interests. Areas with high concentrations of Black residents are susceptible to gentrification as developers seek land with reduced prices and in prime locations in cities. Without stabilization, the Black community will continue to become more fragmented. In 1933, the Homeowners Loan Corporation, or HOLC, was created to distribute long-term, low-interest rate loans to potential and existing homeowners. With the creation of the HOLC came the creation of residential security maps, also known as redlining maps. These maps were supposed to assist loan officers, appraisers, and real estate professionals in determining the credit risk of a loan based on the borrower's neighborhood. People residing in redline neighborhoods, which were considered hazardous, were not only denied mortgages, but also denied the opportunity to improve their socioeconomic status. It may come as no surprise to some of you that the residents of these neighborhoods were predominantly minorities, and in many cases still are. These discriminatory practices have contributed to what we now call the racial wealth gap.
The neighborhood, it was a predominantly Black neighborhood. A lot of people, came together in the neighborhood, helped one another, babysit other people's kids, whatever, so that they could work, whatever the situation was. It was a close-knit community, but at the same time, everybody was struggling.
As a result of lack of access to resources and the inability to assimilate to whiteness, we, the Black community, began occupying public housing projects in the hearts of cities throughout the nation. In the eyes of the federal government, the deteriorating conditions of public housing were a sign of preventable urban decay. The Housing Act of 1949 was supposed to provide federal funding for the clearing of the slums in addition to the relocation and/or compensation of its residents. However, this wave of urban renewal resulted in the fragmentation of many Black communities and displacement of Black families that were living within the red lines that bound us and still bind us to this day. A living example of the lasting negative effects of urban renewal on Black communities can be found in Treme, New Orleans, the nation's oldest Black neighborhood. By the 1960s, Treme was already one of the city's poorest neighborhoods as a result of city-funded redevelopment. In spite of this, the neighborhood was able to retain its major commercial corridor along North Claiborne Avenue. Another upsurge of urban renewal funding prompted the city to expand I-10 through North Claiborne Avenue and seize up to 10 blocks worth of residential housing for what would become Louis Armstrong Park. The demolition of many Black-owned businesses and uprooting of hundreds of Black families only further destabilized this once thriving Black neighborhood. Black people often leave their own neighborhoods once they have the money to do so. As a member of the family increases their financial status, they may seek better accommodation and opportunities elsewhere. This moving on up mentality, as I like to call it, reinforces the crippling effects of government policies through the division of family units. Relocation can isolate Blacks not only from their community, but also from their culturally linked spatial habits. Intergenerational living is common in the Black community as a result of economic necessity and cultural normality. An intergenerational Black family is reliant on interdependence and communal living. These same concepts can be found in Black communities at large. Sitting on porches, neighborhood childcare, and second lines are all examples of the consistent collective interaction found in Black neighborhoods, particularly in New Orleans. The moving on up mentality devalues the importance of community while simultaneously preventing us from seeing the value in our own neighborhoods.
Because everybody was always looking for a way to do better, to get a better home or a better place to live, a better job, those type things. And it always resulted to moving out of that particular neighborhood.
Once I grew up and moved away, I didn't spend a lot of time dealing with family at that point. My life went another direction.
The decentralization of public housing from a federal responsibility to a local one has left the creation of affordable housing up to the private enterprises of architects and real estate developers. Both fields of architecture and real estate development need to address their predominantly white influence and diversify their norms as far as policy, aesthetics, and career opportunities. Architects have a positive duty to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the general public, but what public are they currently serving? Real estate developers have the capacity to revitalize neighborhoods residentially and commercially, but who often benefits from these revitalizations? A deficiency in people of color results in proposed solutions that treat providing affordable housing as secondary and prioritize capitalization. Mixed income housing in neighborhoods have often been proposed as a solution to preventing the crime, low morale, and health concerns often associated with areas occupied by high concentrations of Blacks. The Moving to Opportunity experiment demonstrates that moving lower income families into higher income neighborhoods does positively affect the physical and mental health of the parents and children. However, this experiment also disclosed that the income level and education level of the parents were not affected by relocation. While mixed income housing in neighborhoods may seem like a plausible solution, the concept lacks active execution, social and cultural awareness, and improvement in the lives of the parents just as much as the children. There is a deficiency in housing that offers the heads of Black households the opportunity to gain financial stability and further their education as they support their families. This lack of funds and higher education is what prevents many Black families from moving to opportunity in the first place. The Magnolia Projects, also known as the C.J. Peet Housing Development, once housed approximately 2,100 residents with 1,403 units. What stands in its place now is known as the Harmony Oaks community, a mixed-income neighborhood with 460 apartments and homes, and only 193 of which are public housing. With Harmony Oaks only providing 14% of the public housing once provided by the Magnolia Projects, the question becomes, where were the remaining 86% of residents forced to go?
They got so many projects in New Orleans. I don't even know how many, 9? They had St. Thomas, Callio, St. Bernard, Desire, Florida, Malfamine. That's all I can name 6 off the top of my head. There's a lot of connections for Black people to the project, and now they're gone. And where are these people? That's where we're from. We're from the project, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Current efforts towards the desegregation of cities attempt to uplift Black communities by providing external investment to improve the quality of our built environment. While these efforts are appreciated, they can unintentionally incite gentrification. The improvement of the built environment within Black communities cannot and will not have a lasting effect without symbiotic improvement of the economic stability and opportunity in these communities. Reparations for slavery, the racial wealth gap, and urban renewal are a necessity to prevent the continuous oppression of Black communities. However, the likelihood of Black people in this country receiving what we are due is diminutive. In an effort to acclimate ourselves to the wealth we have been deprived of, we, the Black community, should begin to invest in ourselves and either create or revitalize our own neighborhoods. The formation of ethnic enclaves would create communities for Black people, culture, and commerce to thrive in. An ethnic enclave is defined as an area with a high ethnic concentration, characteristic cultural identity, and economic activity. Classic examples of these areas include Chinatown in San Francisco, Little Italy in Manhattan, and Little Ethiopia in Seattle. Neighborhood master plans could demonstrate the gradual process of Black people transitioning from poverty to middle class and beyond using our own money, businesses, spatial awareness, and architectural style. This form of self-reparation would begin to allow Black communities to accumulate wealth through the freedom, opportunity, and real estate we were unable to reap the benefits of in the past. With this idea in mind, the question becomes, how do we integrate and solidify districts for Blacks into an existing urban fabric that is either keeping us in poverty or pushing us towards isolation? Thank you.